Wow, that's good. Oh, I'm on. Hi, my name is David Albert. I'm the board chairperson of Friendly Water for the World, Olympia's own international nonprofit organization. We work all over the world trying to help people ensure their own safe drinking water. We don't do it for them, but we provide training and knowledge sharing so that we can ensure that communities can take care of this for themselves. And I'll be talking more about that, but really I'm here to do my very first TV infomercial or TV commercial. Now you have to know I've never done anything like this before in my life, but I think it's important that I do so because I want to talk to you today about coffee. Specifically, I want to tell you how you can drink some of the world's best coffee and save lives in the process. I want to talk to you today about coffee that comes from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, from the northeastern part of the Congo. So this infomercial is going to take some time. We're going to have a little bit of history that's going to be necessary, and we're going to talk about the coffee some, and then I'm going to talk to you about where you can get this stuff. So, Democratic Republic of the Congo is a huge country. It's as big as the entire United States east of the Mississippi River. It has every useful mineral known to humankind. It's got copper and tin and aluminum and diamonds and gold, cobalt, manganese, many, many more. It should be a very rich country, except for its history. You see, beginning in 1525, slaves were taken out of the Congo. And they continued to be taken out for the next 355 years. Now, of course, the only people they took out were healthy people, healthy men, and some women were brought out as slaves to the rest of the world, leaving behind the aged, the sick, pregnant women, young children. Needless to say, this doesn't do much for your gene pool. Slavery ended in 1880. And in 1885, King Leopold of Belgium got this idea. He would set up his own personal colony in what became the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where he would mine diamonds and copper, but more importantly, he would get rubber for the new rubber industry for rubber tires. And to do that, he essentially turned the entire country into domestic slaves. And over the course of the next 23 years, the population of the Congo was reduced from 20 million people to fewer than 10 million people. After that, the Belgian government took over, maintained it as a fiefdom for Belgium. The people didn't do well. In 1960, they elected their first democratic president, Patrice Lumumba, and within 6 months, the CIA had assassinated him. And for the next 36 years, they had continual dictatorship. The US and other countries poured aid into the country, but it wasn't aid for the people. Most of the aid ended up in Swiss banks, where it was invested by American, French, and Swiss bankers, all taking a cut. That's where your foreign aid went. Since 1996, there has been continuous warfare, especially in the eastern part of the Congo. It's the biggest war in the world. If you took the war in Iraq, the war in Syria, Yemen, Libya, put them all together, it's not as big as the war in the Congo. About 7 million people have died. 3 million refugees. The largest refugee population in the world doesn't come from Syria, it comes from the Congo, mostly from the northeast Congo. There are armies all over the place, and every major country has a client army. The United States has a client army, Britain has a client army, Russia has one, China has one, Rwanda has one. And why are they fighting? Among the reasons they're fighting is one mineral comes from northeastern Congo. It's a mineral called coltan. It's what makes your cell phone screen work. It's what makes your computer screen work. It's mined with child labor and slave labor. It's brought out at night in armed helicopters to Rwanda, where it is then shipped to Apple and everyone else where it's made into your cell phone screen and into computer screens. Rwanda is the world's leading exporter of this mineral coltan, 80% of which comes from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. But Rwanda doesn't produce 1 ounce of this mineral. It all comes from northeastern Congo. There are various militia groups that have been fighting for control over this area, again, since 1996. There are occasional pauses, but it goes on, and is even going on today. So that's kind of the background to the story, what you need to know about Congo for purposes of this infomercial. And I want to tell you about some very brave people, the women of Minova, small town in Congo. Now, in 2012, there was a great battle. Northeastern Congo has a capital city. It's called Goma. It has 1 million people and 600,000 refugees surrounding the city, and not one drop of clean water for anyone. And in 2012, the Congolese National Army and United Nations troops were matched up against several militia groups fighting for control of the city of Goma. And the Congolese National Army lost, and the United Nations troops lost, and they retreated 60 miles to the little town of Minova, where they proceeded in one night to rape more than 141 women and pillage the entire town. Following the rapes, the husbands of the raped women left them. And this was particularly critical because in this part of the Congo, a small piece of land called a shamba is usually worked by a husband and wife together, and the wife could not work the land alone. Many of the women became pregnant by their rapists. Many of the women contracted HIV. The international community, at least in Europe, was somewhat outraged, and they forced a show trial 2 years later in 2014. 39 low-ranking soldiers from the Congolese National Army were put on trial, and the women were cajoled into testifying, most behind a screen. And at the end of the trial, all 39 soldiers were found innocent. Now, mind you, they would have been found innocent in the United States as well, because you see, everyone had agreed that these 39 soldiers had raped these women. Everyone agreed that these women had been raped, but no one could identify which man had raped which woman. The international community left, leaving the women depressed, with young children, with HIV, no way to earn a living, starving, without medical care, and often without housing. In October 2016, Friendly Water for the World appeared on the scene. And with some help from our medical officer in the Congo, Dr. Kambale Musubao, we provided a training in making biosand water filters for the community. Now, mind you, the Congo, because there's virtually no government in this area where there's been constant war for 20 years, there are no public services, there's no clean water, there's rarely electricity. There are companies taking raw materials out, but that's about it. There have been repeated cholera epidemics, as well as the usual run of typhoid, bacterial dysentery, amoebic dysentery, giardia, cryptosporidium, and rotavirus, which is the leading killer of children in Africa. So the women were often sick, and their children were sick with these waterborne illnesses. And of course, they had no money for treatment, and they had no money even to send their kids to school, so they had to take all their kids out of school. For 5.5 days, we held a training program to teach these women how to build, distribute, install, and maintain biosand water filters, a very simple device made of all locally available materials that can remove up to 99% of viruses, bacteria, worms, parasites from the water supply. In the first 10 weeks, the women earned $9,000. They installed 172 filters in their community. The community now had its first sources of clean water. The women had enough money for medical care. They had enough money to feed their families. They had enough money for medical care. They had enough money for pharmaceuticals, and they put their children back in school. And they came to us and said, you know, we want to expand the program even further. And we said, but we need 4 more of these steel molds. The steel molds are what's necessary to pour the concrete in order to make a biosand filter. And so Friendly Water for the World, we said we'd loan them to them, as we do with all groups. It's theirs as long as they're using them. The women said, no, we wish to buy them. And they presented us with $2,600. They bought 4 more steel molds. Surrounding Minova were 2 refugee camps, one with 700 people, one with 450 people, desperately poor. And cholera hit the refugee camps. The women installed 12 filters in the first refugee camp with 700 people in it. And within 3 weeks, every case of cholera was gone. However, in the other refugee camp with 450 people, there were 100 cases and 20 deaths. And they then proceeded to put biosand filters in those camps. The local health administration was so delighted that they decreed that every restaurant, cafe, and club in the city of Minova was to have a biosand filter in it. The women have since built more than 700 biosand filters, providing clean water for some 18,000 people. A second program has sprung up. There was another community of women who were raped by their own national army about 15 kilometers away called Bulenga Village. We've now done a training there, and the program is going on there. And we've got a request for a third program from people related to the women of Minova, and we hope to get to it soon. So what does this all have to do with coffee? Friendly Coffee for the World. Turns out this area of the Congo produces some of the best coffee in the world. On slopes of hills where the weather is absolutely perfect, and they produce a smooth, bright, invigorating Bourbon Arabica brew, which celebrates the brave women of Minova, Congo. It's shade-grown, certified organic, fair-traded, and roasted in small batches by our friends at Higher Grounds Trading Company in Traverse City, Michigan, and produced as Friendly Coffee for the World. And it's great stuff. 50% of all proceeds from the sale of Friendly Coffee for the World benefits Friendly Water for the World's global efforts to help communities ensure their own safe drinking water. An additional percentage goes to fund gender equity efforts in the Congo itself. What a deal. Friendly Coffee for the World is available right here in Olympia. All you have to do is call 360-918-3642. That's 360-918-3642, or email info@friendlywater.com. The coffee costs $19 a bag. There's a 10% discount on 5 or more. It's available here in whole bean only. It's available online if you would like it ground in any particular way. We can provide coffee for churches, for civic groups, for meetings. We can provide friendly coffee for your Christmas baskets. Or you can have great coffee to drink during Thanksgiving or during the 8 days of Hanukkah. Or you could just have it for breakfast every morning. Wouldn't it be great to get up every morning and drink a cup of great coffee and know that you're saving lives all around the world? You now have the opportunity to do that with Friendly Coffee for the World. So I hope my first attempt at a TV infomercial is successful. I hope we'll be getting lots of calls, or you'll be emailing me. I'd love to come to your own civic group or church and tell you about Friendly Water for the World's work and sell you some Friendly Coffee for the World. I guarantee you've never drunk anything quite like it. It's spectacular coffee. You can get it by calling 360-918-3642 or email info@friendlywater.net. And I think I've spoken so long, it's time for me to have another sip.